Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Haengbokaeyo Podcast. I'm your host, PUTLI Johnson, and for this episode, it is titled Lose Your Bearings. So before diving into this week's topic, as you know, the name of our podcast is Haengbokaeyo, which means to be happy in Korean. So I hope that you guys have been able to find little moments of happiness in your life, and I've been trying to do the same. So I'll just share one little moment, and I'd say this is just like something cool that I bought. So my favorite place in Toronto is Kensington Market, and it's really cool. So like it's inside of Chinatown, and there's like really cool food places to eat, really cool shopping, like vintage shopping. And there's many cultures mixed in there. Like growing up, my mom, I used to go there with her to a Caribbean grocery store. So if you head to Kensington Market, you will find lots of things from Chinese culture, but things from other cultures as well. So when I was in Chinatown, Kensington Market last, I went into a shop, and this shop has like things related to Toronto. So you'll see like basically paintings with Drake's face on it, and it like says different sayings and stuff. But one thing I found was this little magnetic bookmark, and it had Arthur on it, and it said library card. And I grew up watching Arthur, so I don't know if you might remember, having fun isn't hard if you got a library card. So yeah, that was from Arthur. So when I saw that, I really wanted it, so I grabbed it. So yeah, that was my little moment of happiness this week, visiting Kensington Market and picking up that little piece of, I guess, childhood. So with that being said, let's dive into this week's topic, lose your bearings. The definition of lose your bearings, it just means to become confused about your physical location or to lose your sense of direction and purpose. And honestly, that, as someone who's like kind of like a control freak in a way, like I'm someone who wants to know like what's the next step, what should I be doing, or like what's the plan. I'm that type of person. So like when you think about losing your bearings, that does not seem like a positive thing in my eyes, and maybe not in a lot of people's eyes actually. But when I was downtown a few weeks ago, I saw this ad for visiting Halifax in Nova Scotia, and it said lose your bearings, as in come visit Halifax, come see what we have to offer, come explore with us. So they were talking about losing your bearings, but in a good way, in a way where you can be free and have fun. So that was a really interesting thing to see. I definitely think that in terms of that poster, what it's saying is you need to lean into the unknown. Come see the unknown in a positive light. Come see what we have to offer. And I think we can take that and apply it to life. Like lose your bearings in life, and which is so hard, but if there's something you don't know but you're interested in. So for example, I've always wanted to learn what it's like to become like a radio broadcaster, so someone who's on the radio. And I think if I didn't have any experience in that field at all, I just thought it was cool because I grew up, my mom always had the radio on, so I was always listening to music and the radio DJs, so like I wanted to know what that was like. So for me, I was maybe a few months ago, back in the summer months, I was looking at volunteer opportunities, and I saw one, and it was at a local radio station that was attached to a school. So I got the chance to, and I'm still doing it, volunteer there and learn a little bit about radio broadcasting. So that was a moment for me to lean into the unknown, lean into something that I don't know a lot about, but something I really want to learn about. And I think it's definitely brought a lot of brightness to my life. I've gotten like some cool opportunities. For example, like I got to interview someone who was an Oscar winner. So I will tell you a little bit about that later. But for me, leaning into the unknown has allowed me to experience a lot of new things. So definitely, I feel like losing your bearings, while it's scary and It's like you don't want to be off kilter. You don't want to be unsure. Like that's not where you want to be in life, but sometimes it's where you need to be. I want to tie this into a show that I've watched recently. It is a Japanese drama and it's called Learning to Love. And it's about this Japanese high school teacher. Her name is Minigami, I think. And she was working at a company, in a publishing company, and that was always her dream. And she fell in love with someone at the company, but he ended up cheating on her and basically finding someone else. And he breaks up with her, but that was her first love, and she kind of gets really obsessed with him and continuously calls him, trying to find out like, what have I done wrong? Why did you break up with me? And she actually starts stalking him to the point where she loses her job. He calls the police on her, and he tells her at one point, you should die, you should kill yourself. And that was so hard for her to hear. And she actually, she was in such a bad place that she decided to do that. And she wrote a letter and everything, and she decided to take that action. And she ended up she jumped into a body of water, but she got too scared, just that drowning feeling. So she was able to get out, and, she got checked into a medical facility, and she ended up moving back into her house with her parents. But she's in that bubble, and she starts teaching at a high school because she is very educated and her family is very privileged, so they pull some strings for her. But one of her students is, I guess you'd say, troubled, or she's just a teen, basically. She's going through a hard time at home, and she starts visiting a host club. So in Japan, I guess host clubs are a thing. I'm not too sure, if it's a very prevalent thing or whatever, but it's just basically where you go into a club, and there's a lot of, maybe, I guess there could be a host club with girls, but this host club is with guys, and they kind of cater to you. They'll spend some time with you, and that's on the premise that you will buy drinks, you will buy stuff from the club, and it's their job to spend time with you while you do that. So her student is in high school, so she's underage, but she starts visiting that club, and she gets attached to one of the hosts there. So the host there, his name is Karu, and he's trying to become the number one host in his host club. And she's out one day, and she gets a call from the school, our teacher, Minami, and the principal tells her, one of the parents have contacted us, and she says that her daughter has spent some money at a host club. We need you to go check it out, go pick her up from the host club. And I guess from us in the West, that's super crazy, because teachers are responsible for the things you do in school, not the things you do after school. So yeah, this is super crazy. But anyway, she goes to the host club to get the student, and she finds the student. She drags the student out. But one of the things that the parents want from that host, they want him to sign an apology letter saying, what I did was wrong and I'll never contact the student again. So she goes there to get that the next day, and he keeps kind of avoiding it. And I'll do it later. I'm not I can't do it here. I'll do it later. And finally later comes, and she meets him. He says, I'll do it at my apartment. So she goes to his apartment. She doesn't go in. She doesn't feel comfortable. So they go up to the rooftop, and he starts writing it, but he's struggling, super, super struggling. And when he's done, it looks really messy, and it's not even completely correct, the spelling and stuff. So she finds out that he cannot read and he can't write, maybe at a really grade school level. And it's because he did drop out of school. He didn't go to high school. He didn't go to middle school. And the reason we find out later in the show is because he has a learning disability. He has dyslexia. So throughout the show, the premise is she starts teaching him on the weekend, and through that, they fall in love. For him, he was doing it so she would come to the club and spend more money. Therefore, he could be number one host. But he ends up falling in love with her. And she was doing it, I think just she felt a connection and she wanted to help in a way. Because like at school, none of her students really loved her, or not loved her, but they didn't really vibe well with her, and she didn't feel like a calling to teaching, nor did she connect with her students. So through teaching him, she felt really like purpose. So she found that purpose, and anyway, they fell in love with each other. And at the end, one thing that he says is he writes a letter to her, and she successfully taught him how to read and write, and he's going back to school now, and they're in love. And he writes a letter to her, like when they kind of broke up briefly. So like he writes a letter to her when they're getting back together, and in the letter he writes like, I am so happy that I didn't know how, I'm getting emotional. Okay. So he said, I am so happy that I didn't know kanji. I didn't know how to read it. I didn't know how to write it, because if I would have known, then I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to get to know you. I wouldn't have got to spend time with you. So I'm so thankful for that, because it brought me you, it brought me love. And that was so sweet. Like, and it just brings us back to our point. Like, there are things that you won't know. I'm getting emotional. Okay. But yeah, so there are things that you won't know. There are things that will be hard for you. And I think you'll see them as flaws. But if you can lean into them and try and find ways to kind of learn about that thing, get better at that thing, if that's what you want, I definitely think it will lead you to a good place. So like Kaoru, it led him to love. So I definitely think there is positive sides to losing your bearings and not knowing what to do and how to do it. Also, there will be people along the way who will be there to support you, be it friends, family, or outside support systems. You will find it. So I'll bring it back now to an opportunity I got when I was leaning into something that I did not know a lot about, radio broadcasting. So I got the opportunity to interview Oscar winner Chris Lavin. So he is the co-director of a stop motion animation called The Girl Who Cried Pearls. So I definitely recommend that you go watch that animation. It is on YouTube. So just type in The Girl Who Cried Pearls. You will love it. It is really cool, and it's Canadian. It's set in Montreal. So yeah, hometown pride. So definitely. So I got to interview him, and while prepping for that interview, I was looking up some of his other work, and this is the film that stood out to me. It's called Madame TUTLI PUTLI, and it's also a stop motion animation, and it's about a woman. Like, she doesn't speak, but you when we first meet her, she's at a dock. She's no, she's not at a dock. She's at a train station waiting for a train. And you look, and like behind her is all her possessions. She's carrying some of it on her back, and it's all with her. Like, she's obviously starting over. She's moving somewhere else, but she has all her belongings with her. And you look at that and you think, why do you need all that? Yes, you can like some stuff is important, but you don't need all of it. So like throughout the film, you can see her, like, she's sitting in her cabin. There's a bunch of weird characters in there with her. There's a guy who's a bit creepy. But yeah, she's in there and she's really nervous. So eventually, I guess she sees posters about people who are, I guess, train robbers who robs your possessions. So she's scared of that. And they actually do end up getting on her train, and they put some poisonous or noxious gas in the train that causes people to fall asleep. And when she wakes up, everyone is gone. Everyone is gone, and all her stuff is gone. And she kind of, like, you see her go back into like her mind. So either she remembers this, or I don't know, how she pieces this together, but can remember seeing them coming into her coach, taking out one of her cabin members' organs and like kind of looking in her way and kind of like saying like, mind your business or you're next. And so she wakes up and she's just like, yeah, her stuff is gone. She's freaked out. She's trying to like get off this train and she sees this moth, and the moth has been with her throughout this journey when she was waiting for the train, while she was sitting in her cabin, and now while she's trying to get off this train. And she starts following the moth, and the moth just like leads her somewhere. And at the end, you just see her, it's like she transformed into this moth or butterfly, and she's walked into the light. She looks super free. And I definitely think that's just a metaphor for she's let go of all the things that she was scared of. She no longer has her possessions anymore, and she's moving into a better place. I hope that's not death, but yeah, she's moving into, I think, a better life. For me, that just brought the idea like to losing your bearings. Like, I think when you're in that space of unknown, you want to bring all the things that you know with you. Like, you don't want to be in that unknown space. So you want to use that lens of your own understanding that you've created. Like, you want to find some way to feel comfortable in that unknown space. So you might bring old thinking that's maybe not so helpful. Maybe you'll bring people with you who haven't been good to you in your life, and you might need to let those people go. So bad habits, maybe bad thinking, or people that you need to let go. You might be trying to bring those things with you. So for her, all that stuff that she was trying to bring, you'll be trying to bring that with you into your new life. And that's not the way to go. And for me, this is so hard. Like, I've moved to Korea and I had to sell all my furniture, and I loved my apartment, but I really wanted to experience what life had to offer, what life in Korea had to offer. So I had to let go of a lot of things, but that was one of the scariest things. It honestly led to some of the best memories and some of the best connections. I made a great friend that I still have at home. So I know that it was the right thing to do, but it's so scary. So when it's time to lose your bearings, even though it is so scary, sometimes you need to let go of things from the past. Like, you can't bring them with you. So you don't need to do it all at once, but if there are places in your life where you can, lean into the unknown, lean into the things that you don't understand, and just try and find some comfort in that space, because while that space is scary and you don't know where you're going, I think you can find comfort in understanding that if you don't know where you're going, you could end up anywhere, and that place could be amazing. The people you meet there could be amazing. The journey and the things you experience along the way could be amazing. Like, the world is your oyster. But if you don't lean into the unknown and lose your bearings a little bit, you will never get to experience that. So that is something that I'm doing. I'm working on. I'm trying to lose my bearings a little bit. So I hope that you can do the same. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. I really hope you liked it. Leave a comment down below. You can talk about something that you want to try, that you're a little scared of trying. And yeah, I will definitely be rooting for you. So this has been episode 4 of the Haengbokaeyo Podcast.